Hey, what's up plum parents? Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my first video this year, so I'm really excited. I did a couple of hauls last year and the second one actually kind of got out of hand. But this month I've been good. I only purchased 2 plants, the rest I got as gifts or plant swaps. Total 8 plants this month. Anyway, let's jump into it. Okay, let's start off with begonias. So this month, half of my plants are actually begonias. I don't know why I'm surprised, but... So the first one I'm going to show you is one that I did purchase. This is the Begonia Iron Cross or Begonia masoniana. And for a while I was under the impression that it's actually a cultivar, but it is a species. And actually this was cultivated for a while before they actually discovered it as a species in the wild. I am so happy to show you guys this because since I filmed the B-roll, which was just yesterday, a flower has opened up because these have got to be the cutest flower buds. So the petals are light green. I haven't had him for a while, obviously it's a plant haul, and he's already putting out 2 flower stalks, which makes me kind of wonder if the change in environment has triggered him to put out flowers. I'm not sure. So since filming, I've discovered that begonias can get triggered to flower by changes in light intensity or photoperiod. If you guys are familiar with begonias, is that something that they do? Because I have another plant that threw out flowers since I brought it home. So I'll show you that later. This is probably not for the faint-hearted. It has what they call bullate leaves, B-U-L-L-A-T-E, and if you touch it, it kind of reminds me of bubble wrap. You know those plastic bubble wraps? It kind of has that kind of texture. I don't know if I can do an ASMR moment. Each one has a little red or pinkish red hair, and the back is also very interesting. That is pretty darn creepy. Yeah. I am going to repot it after I am done enjoying the flowers, probably taking a leaf cutting as well, because the last time I had a Rhizomatous begonia, my begonia breakdance, which I did feature in a haul last year, it did decline after a while and I lost the mother plant. Thankfully I took leaf cuttings and I do have some plantlets coming up. So I was told that Begonia Iron Cross can tolerate direct sun, and a lot of sources online said not to miss this guy because of the texture. It kind of like traps humidity too long. Okay, so the other begonia that started throwing out flowers when I brought it home is this next one, and I got this in a plant swap. This is a very nice species, Begonia gironella, and you're probably curious about the setup. I've never come across this kind of setup until I met my colleague who plant swapped this with me. So thank you very much. Basically, it is in the medium of mop. Yes, you did not hear me wrong. M-O-P, mop. This is set up in basically a self-watering or self-wicking system where you have a reservoir of water below and the mop wicking it into the main pot above. So as long as there is water, if you touch the surface, it should be wet. And the perlite basically lifts this pot up so that it's not sitting in water and gets too wet. The medium is basically perpetually moist. So I hope that explains things. This apparently seems to be a very good way to grow Rhizomatous begonias. Rhizomatous begonias are not the easiest to care for. I think if you want to get into begonias, obviously the king begonias are much easier. Those that are rhizomatous are a little bit harder to care for. For the plant itself, when I got it, it was pretty much this mature leaf and a few small leaves. So in the last couple weeks or so, these 3 leaves have emerged pretty fast, and you can also see the 2 flower stalks that are coming out. So in terms of the texture, the leaf feels a bit like a gym mat that like kids would play on. Bottoms of the leaves are pink. So I'm very lucky to already have this begonia. This is Begonia cleopatrae, and I think they were classified as the same species for a while before they separated this guy out to be its own species, but you can tell why they look quite similar. And I did haul this in my first haul last year, looking much larger than it is now. I did struggle with this a lot. It was putting out a leaf, dropping a leaf, putting out a leaf, dropping a leaf, and finally it's kind of stabilized, which is why I say Rhizomatous begonias a little bit finicky. But I have heard that when you propagate from the mother plant, the babies actually grow stronger. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm gonna point out a few characteristics I personally think distinguish these two individual specimens. But my begonia eye is not very trained, so they might not even be really traits that you can rely on to tell begonias apart, if you know what I mean. I think the most striking for me is that Cleopatra has more of a defined middle green stripe, while the Gironella doesn't. It's more splotchy. I also find that the green on the Cleopatra is just a little bit more neon-like, whereas the green here is just slightly a bit more dull. I noticed that the Gironella has red backs while the Cleopatra doesn't, and that could be conditions or normal variation within these species, which is why I say I'm just comparing these two individual specimens. The flowers on these are red. Correction, the buds are red and the petals are pink. I don't know what the flowers are yet on this. I think another thing I want to point out is these baby leaves emerge very green, and I do put this guy right next to this guy because I think the care should be pretty similar. So these are kind of in southeast facing windows, but there are larger plants kind of filtering out the bright morning light. Okay, so I have two more begonias to show you guys. This is an example of a cane begonia, and cane begonias are ones that grow upright, and it can also branch off. I received this in bloom. This one I got from a plant store as well. Thank you very much again. This is Begonia Benigo. I believe it is a hybrid, possibly a hybrid of a hybrid. Do leave a comment if you know the parentage. First impression is that it is quite a dark leafed begonia. The leaves, some of them appear more green, some of them appear dark purple or red. The backs of the leaves very, very dark red. Some of the spots are more pinkish, some of them look like they might be a bit more silverish. So it seems to kind of vary throughout the plants. I'm not quite sure how that works, but we'll see. And I heard from sources online this should be quite an easy plant to care for. Okay, so the very last begonia I'm going to show you guys. I'm not sure if you consider this a plant really. It is basically a leaf cutting. Basically, I'm trying to do a leaf cutting of this begonia, which is quite commercially available in Singapore at the moment. This is a rather small leafed Rhizomatous begonia, Begonia baueri, tiger or tiger paws. Begonia baueri is a species, and I think based on my search online, the original baueri is a small green leaf with little eyelash detail on the side, hence it's nicknamed the eyelash begonia, which I think is such a cute nickname. But this one, unfortunately, I cannot show you. I'm trying to leaf propagate it in perlite. Actually, guys, I see roots. I've never propagated in perlite. You can also propagate in mop. Oh, I think it's from Mexico. I've already lost the petiole cutting. And I've noticed that with some begonias, for example, my breakdance, I did 2 leaf cuttings. I lost both the petioles. My Luzonensis cutting, the petiole didn't really produce any plantlets. It produced roots, but no plantlets. And I've had it for a long time. So yeah, I don't know. I've heard that the petiole cutting has a higher success rate, so I must be maybe like not burying it deep enough. So I got 2 Hoya cuttings in a Hoya plant swap this month. So this is Hoya merrillii. I think it has star-shaped kind of cream yellow flowers, and to be honest, the leaves on this one really quite nice. It has that subtle kind of like latifolia veining, nice crinkling along the edges. It's got some splash as well, And this is a Hoya that exhibits sun stress, so when you put it in direct sun, it does turn red. I was doing some reading around why plants turn red. The easiest explanation is that it's kind of like a natural sunscreen. So I think that it basically produces a pigment in a class of compounds, and the color can be anywhere from red to even purple and blue. For example, that in blueberries, the pigment absorbs extra energy. So another cool thing about anthocyanins is they are present in new leaves, which kind of answers the question why some Hoyas or maybe Melanochrysum, some of the leaves emerge a dark red or burgundy. One of the possible reasons is that the plant is channeling a lot of sugars into the new leaves, and an accumulation of those sugars causes anthocyanin to be formed. The sugar is sometimes converted into anthocyanin. As the leaf matures, the anthocyanin is metabolized. So that also means that any accumulation of sugars in the leaves can cause it to turn red. So yeah, I don't know, maybe with a lot of light you start to like create a lot of sugars and then you turn red. So that's me trying to be more informative. Anyway, the other Hoya that I got, you can see it's not rooted very well. This one is Hoya melliflua. Very obviously, this one has a very dark leaf, lighter on the bottom. No veining, so far no splash as well. Kind of a leathery feel, quite thick. And yeah, it's got quite a unique leaf. I know it doesn't look like much. And it's been in water for a while, hasn't really produced that much roots. Both of these are native to the Philippines. Okay, we have two more plants to get through. This one I was gifted, so thank you very much again. These are bromeliads. I actually don't have the ID on these. I realized there are probably 4 kinds of bromeliads here, but I'm gonna lump them in as one plant because I'm caring for them all the same. Bromeliads are plants, I suppose, in the Bromeliaceae family, and the Bromeliaceae family has 75 genera according to Wikipedia, including Tillandsias, your air plants, as well as Ananas, which is the genus for your pineapples, Deccia, Guzmania, Neurogelia. I'm not super familiar with this family at all, and I think that bromeliads have been really crossed and hybridized and cultivated. As far as the care goes, I think bromeliads are pretty hardy. Currently, they are potted in just pure cocoa chips. Like Tillandsias, these seem to be epiphytic. They do absorb nutrients as well as moisture from the air. And in the case of these kind of bromeliads, they do catch water in their central reservoir, and that's how you can water them as well. You can also mist them. I know that they have super trees, or those giant trees in Gardens by the Bay that are decorated with hundreds of these bromeliads. You can go and take a look. And as you can see, this is how they reproduce with the pups. I really like this one. It does have silver stripes and almost black-green leaves. Some of these do have spikes along the edges. These ones have kind of like a blush towards the center, as well as stripes. This one has kind of spotting. This one looks like tiger stripes. They are very hardy plants. I think they can take almost like full sunlight, or at least a few hours of direct sunlight, and they can dry out, but they can also tolerate probably a bit of direct rain as well. So yeah, I think that's why they use it a lot for landscaping in the Gardens by the Bay. So if you want to see more of them, larger specimens or flowering specimens of them, go check that out. Alright, we're down to our last plant, and I actually really like this plant. If you recall, in probably like my previous plant haul last year, I'm trying not to give up on prayer plants. I think to date I've probably killed one Calathea rosea pictodotty, and I have a Stromenti triostar that is just about to breathe its last breaths. I'm not a huge fan of the rosea picta varieties, but the Stromenti I do kind of like. But when you kill a plant once, it's kind of hard to go out there and buy it again, especially if you have no clue what you did wrong. So I bought a different cultivar of the plant. I got the Stromenti Magic Star instead. And to be honest, I actually prefer this plant. pretty much the same species. It's just got a different variegation to it. The original plant is Stromenti, I believe the old name is Sanguine, and now the name is Thalia. Stromenti Triostar is Stromenti Thalia Triostar. This one is Stromenti Thalia Magic Star. I've seen it pop up in Singapore here and there, so if you're interested in this, you can get your hands on it. The price is pretty much around the same as the Triostar, as far as I know. And I don't know if it's easier to care for because the variegation on this seems to be a little less than the Triostar. The Triostar variegation can be quite a lot. Some of the leaves on my Triostar was almost completely white, which made me feel like, am I giving it too much light? But I don't know if the Triostar variegation responds to light conditions. So this guy is very beautiful. It has, again, the red stems with the red backs, but the variegation is more like your Thai constellation, speckly kind of variegation. Some of it looks a bit more white, some of it looks a little bit more aureum or yellow or lime green. It was obviously sold to me not in this Kofu cup. I did get it in a nursery pot, but I've since repotted it to be in half sphagnum and half pine bark. I haven't really figured out Calathea yet, so I'm gonna try this kind of soilless system, but I can see a root already growing down, so that's a good sign. Alright, so those were the 8 plants that I hauled in January. I hope you guys enjoyed all the varieties of colors and textures and difficult to pronounce names. I highly recommend that you consider swapping plants with your friends, of course in a safe manner. Such a great way to expand your collection without spending money. Also, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below which was your favorite out of all the plants I hauled, and also your favorite plant that you hauled in January 2021. Do follow me on Un Lychee. Thank you to my muso friends who have helped me see my Instagram handle in a new light. I do post updates on my plants as well as go live sometimes while I'm doing my gardening, so if you're into that kind of content, do follow me. Hope you guys have a safe and enjoyable time this Lunar New Year, and see you in my next video. Bye! They are Neurogelia. This is going to be my first video of the year 2021. Sorry. This is Begonia. This is really difficult what to say. Anyway, what am I saying? Alright guys, we're done.